had some really stand-up results and was on very good form in Richmond. It's a pretty tight top end, not only for the teams but also the individuals in this men's A. So I'm excited to see what plays out in the second half of this race because they're already getting pretty antsy.
Yeah, 14 and a half kilometres in, and I'm surprised that, they're allowing little breakaways to happen. There's a big bunch there, a very big bunch. But we do know those relentless guys, they come from a background in long course triathlon. As we see here, replay of the sprint in the men's race, looks like Dave from Evo may have taken that out with Grosicki coming in very quickly behind. And maybe another dPAC rider there, Pashiko or Mitch. Yeah, looks like ZWC took that out. There was we'll see the sprint points soon, but that was a very, very wild sprint with a huge string out behind them. Things have settled down now. Looks like they're sort of averaging around that 3.5 to 4 watts per kg. I think all the action's going to happen now when they hit that second climb, which is, about 10 kilometres away.
Yeah, so let's take a look at those bonus points to date. We've got Grosicki from Relentless on 6 points, Monrich, ZWC Attack on 5, Sam Lindsay also on 5, Cheam from Evo Savages on 4, IKD from ZWC Attack on 4. We saw him go over that first KOM really well. Duffy Jr. also great on that first KOM on 2. Pacheco on 2 from Peta Z1. We've got Goyini on 1, and taking out that other 1 point is Kanji Stinger from ZWC Attack. If we look at this, Anna, we can see, on screen we've got Morgan from dPAC making a move and attacking. He's got Sam Lindsay, of course, he went over the KOM like he had a rocket on the back of his bike. So I think that dPAC are going out there planning on being pretty aggressive. I mean, from everything we've seen so far, that's the only thing we can assume.
Now, are they doing a 1-2 here? Because you can see dPAC rider coming over, and then it looks like O'Connell from WTRL has pulled ahead of him with a drafting power-up. Interesting use of that at this time of the race. Maybe just want to get rid of it and would get another one through that banner, but there's something going on here with this dPAC crew. They've gone for that first one, like you said. This is a bit of a hero effort off the front. It's pushing up around that 5 watts per kg. They really are trying to mix it up a little bit. And you've got a ZWC rider, and so maybe they're just trying to, entice the riders to chase them. Like I know you mentioned when we talked about it in the women's race, and just burn a few legs before they hit that sky path again.
Well, the funny thing is, we sit here as commentators trying to put reason into every rhyme that we see. But I don't know about you in your Zwift racing, which you've done a lot of, but certainly in my IRL racing, there are moments where you found yourself in a breakaway or attacking and somebody would say on the radio, "What are you doing?" and you didn't really have an answer. It's just almost a bit of a brain fluff where you end up kind of putting a bit too much power into the pedals and you end up with a bit of a gap, and then you go, well, I may as well go with it. So we're going to head back and check the women out because they are coming into the final. So 34.4k total there at the 33 kilometre mark. A little bit of cat and mouse going on here because they're not at very high speed. Yes, the road is ticking up as the whole race has done so far, Anna, but I think that they're just all now waiting for the sprint. They've got a group of 5 there led by Shaw, who has been the absolute beacon in the race thus far. She's won all 4 intermediate sprints. You reckon that Reed's got good legs and has been sort of sitting back and waiting for this final? I certainly think that Davidson is a very tough one to beat in a bunch sprint. They're both there. Aero Flyers for Jay Reed and of course Shaw with Zed Sun are very outnumbered by the women from the Ace of Cakes. So let's see what they are going to do coming into this final. I would imagine that the Ace of Cakes do a lead out for Davidson.
Yeah, I mean, look at Reed there. She was just sort of sitting there at the back. She's doing no work. She's just tucked right in there to the AHDR rider. This is a tricky finish to the race, though. Having reckied it, it's sort of at 0% now, but then it goes into a bit of a false flat. I mean, a false flat downhill, a very gradual downhill, which actually makes it quite hard to get away. But in the pre-women's race this morning, we saw an attack, probably from about now, now. So if any of these women have watched that race, maybe they're going to give that a go, because that rider just got away and finished with daylight behind her. And I think, I always feel nervous at this point in a race, because it almost feels twitchy. You've got the AHDR riders just sort of moving to the front. Reed here, she's just playing it so well. She is tucking in. We see the watts going up here from McKay, 5.8. This is definitely an attack coming in now, and I think you're right. I think this is a concerted team effort here to pull away, and you've got one sitting on the back, boxing in the other two. This is perfect team strategies here from AHDRL as they're heading into this last 400 metres.
And I would love the Ace of Cakes to just string it out and go absolutely flat out for Davidson to try and get that extra 5 points in that buffer, because of course there's 40 points for the win, 35 for second. So Hurst is accelerating early. She's certainly picking up the pace. 54 kilometres an hour. They are not wasting any time. But Shaw is hot on her heels. She's not letting anybody go a single metre. Reed, they're certainly playing games with her, Anna, and they're dropping that off a bit, but they're out of the seat going for the finish.
That's insane wattage there from D Shaw, 12.6 watts per kg. But as we see, a great power up here from McKay. And I think it was very close, but I think she may have gone over, just over the top of Shaw, who just unfortunately had a drafting power up, so couldn't quite use it. But oh wow, that was a very quick and impressive finish from, I believe McKay might have taken that out. So it wasn't our girl Reed, but here we go with the replay. That was just, that happened so quickly. You can see here, Shaw using the drafting power up, but very quickly you see Davidson come through. So that's actually amazing that McKay, with the aero there, just coming up onto the wheel of Shaw on the pink Tron bike there, and she has edged over. And that banner is right there. That was perfection from McKay to take out over Shaw, our giraffe rider with the nickname, it's because she's so tall, we've been told now, who came in second. Most
giraffe rider. I love that, our giraffe rider. I actually think Davidson went a little bit early there, and McKay certainly saved it for the Ace of Cakes, and they had a lot of options. But sure, what an impressive ride. I mean, all day she showed us that she had very good giraffe legs on her, and certainly takes out the most aggressive, and she will take the points overall. I think we'll get those results when we can. Over to the men's now. A bit of a breakaway here. They're back up on the slopes because, well, pretty much the whole course is up and down, and not a lot of rest for the wicked, so to speak. And Uskwa, let's call them that, USKW, the Japanese rider on the front, O'Connell and Morgan in there, the three of them. So we've got Pioneers, dPAC, and ZWC. This is an interesting little breakaway, Anna, because the three of these riders have been away. They're not necessarily riding that well together, are they?
No, you can see their work, ZWC. So WTRL, Pat O'Connell, not happy with ZWC not putting in any work. But, this is the name of the game, Why are you breaking off? And then he's saying he's working. Oh, I love it. The fact that they're able to type and be riding at 6.3 watts a kg. I mean, my phone is just completely covered in sweat. I can barely even, get my finger to get traction on it. So, one, impressive they're typing. Again, take turns. So it looks like WTRL and dPAC are against that ZWC rider. This is not a cohesive front unit.
I mean, is there anything more passive-aggressive, Anna, than the angry typing that happens mid-race on Zwift? And I actually reckon there'd be some fabulous typos too, as the sweat would change a few letters. But, it just goes to show how frustrated riders get whenever they feel like everybody's not pulling their weight. Because breakaways only stay away if the riders decide that they're going to work together. Never has a break stayed away where people have been faffing around. Now, it was interesting, the Japanese rider from ZWC replying, I'm working. Maybe he was out of his seat, taking a drink, doing something, and it's very reactive in game, and it looked like he wasn't. I don't know. I mean, we looked at the replay there, Anna, and it looked to me like they were all getting pretty frustrated. So to fast forward now a couple of kilometres and see them all working together, there's nothing going on in the chat. Seems like they've found their flow. They've all kissed and made up, and they've got a decent gap here. So about 12 seconds back to the chasing crew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they've kissed and made up. I think they're probably just a little bit. Oh wait, no, we're seeing some comments coming again. Ed, no slacking. So O'Connell here, Paul O'Connell is a chatty one. He is really chatty. And a sorry there from dPAC. Well, maybe they have kissed and made up. They're the best of friends now. You know, I said it last week. You just have great friendships formed on Zwift, and I think we've got a lovely little one here with WTRL and dPAC. I'm not sure about the ZWC rider. I think they might be a little bit out on the cold, a little bit, you know, got the cold shoulder from the other two. This is, I'm loving this. This is a great way to see a three-man breakaway chit-chat at 5.5 watts a kg.
Yeah, and look, I also think that the other thing is it can be really frustrating, Anna, when you've got really good legs, you're in plumb position in a breakaway, you've got a couple of breakaway buddies, and you feel like they're not pulling their weight. Now, that could be strategy, of course. They may think, oh, hey, I'm just going to sit on this super strong rider. But equally, they may just not really have great legs. It may be taking them a little bit longer to recover. But what they can do is they can check their data. So they can look and go, oh, well, he can't say that he's at his limit and can't pull through because his heart rate's 160, or conversely, perhaps they get a little bit more slack if their heart rate looked to be really pushing up and they weren't able to do much. But I think that O'Connell is motivated. He's got pretty good legs. He's certainly pushing that breakaway both in form and in words. So regardless of whether this breakaway stays away, Anna, I think we'll see a lot of O'Connell still to come. So we're going to check in at the finish here of the Sea Women, and Hamilton from the Fiery Kittens. She is riding away with it, 21 seconds up on Margarita from TBR, sitting in second there, but we have a little bunch of two with Courtney, BRT rider, so they'll have a bit of a sprint amongst themselves. But Hamilton, she has had a very impressive ride. To ride away solo on a course like this certainly shows she's got very strong legs for the Fiery Kittens.
Yeah. This is Jessica Hamilton, so another Kiwi, I do believe. Yes, she's from New Zealand. An FTP of 302 watts, and she's obviously using that to her advantage at the moment and going away on a big solo effort, 25 seconds ahead of Margarita from TBR behind her. That is phenomenal that she's broken that off there. I wonder where she managed to get away. That's I've never seen that on this course, to be able to have that much of a gap coming into the finish. And, you know, she's riding now at, a nice sort of cruisy 2.5 watt a kg because she's got such a huge lead. This is the way you kind of want to finish races, you don't have to sprint, you don't have to raise the heart rate too much, you can just roll your way into the finish line and take maximum points.
Well, sometimes you can get a break like this just from sheer power, but other times a well-timed attack can really break the spirit. So finishing now, and Hamilton, Kiwi for the win. It's a good night for the Kiwis here. Anna, what do they think? It's the Bledisloe Cup or something? The poor Aussies. Although I might know that we did win the rugby last week, even if we won't next time. So Hamilton took the win here. We've got a nice sprint finish happening here between Courtney and Margarita, but Courtney has accelerated away. I actually think that this downhill sprint catches some of them because Margarita had a late push there, didn't quite make it. But riders seem to be going a little bit early because the riders in the slipstream are often catching back up. Mel Small is coming in for We8 the Cake along with her teammate Reed. And they were sprinting for the finish with their teammates, so good on them.
Yeah, and you're right there, Katie, with that finish. Like I said, it's tricky because it goes to -2%, and you're totally right. You can't go too early because the momentum on that downward slope is just huge for the riders going back behind. This is another TBR Smile On rider, Estelle here. We'll just follow these riders coming in for a little bit more before we shoot on over to the men's race, where we had a very chatty front group of three, and we'll see if the friendship's still there or if anyone's broken off the back. And nope, 3 strong. They're still working together. Only 4 seconds ahead though, so it looks like they're going to get caught. And that group, Relentless, Grosicki there, he's pushing it up already. They're at this huge 12% grade here. Well, there he went on the pink Tron bike. Grosicki just absolutely drilled it past that group, and he's got a bit of daylight now. Danger man.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure they did smoke the peace pipe in that front group, Anna, because that came back really quickly, and I do think that O'Connell has really good legs, because look at him, he's still up there. But Sam Lindsay, this is your secret little pick for a double Kiwi win. He is hot on the heels of Grasicki. These pair went over the top together last time. Altogether, Sam Lindsay had a bit more of a gap, and Grasicki has taken a bit more of an aggressive stance on this lap, because of course we know, Anna, that the chances of them staying away across the top here aren't that high. It is a very fast descent in this final 8k and then to the flat at the finish, but they can really make a lot of gaps and make the group a lot smaller than it was. So Grasicki and Lindsay, they're pulling the strong turns at the front there. Duffy Jr. from Relentless, he's leading the peloton behind. It does look to be a bit of a gap, but it's only a couple of seconds, and I don't think they're going to make this I don't think they're trying to make a breakaway over here. They're just pushing hard and testing some legs.
I think so, and I think they're probably looking for those points at the top of the climb. You know, you had Lindsay take out those points on the first lap, so, you know, he probably wants to see if he can get 2 from 2. The rider I'm interested in, though, now, who's just rolling in there, you can see in the blue, is our professional rider, Turek. And looking at some of his stats, he has won multiple mountain classifications in the real world, in the pro cycling peloton. So he's one to watch, because I don't think that this climb is taking it out of him as much as it may be the other riders. You can see he's just moved to the front there, around 8.8 watts per kg, but he's riding a lovely factor bike there. I haven't seen one of those in game for a while. And we've got the ZWC rider Tanaka coming through at the end. They're just approaching this KOM, and it looks like Tanaka from ZWC will roll over with maximum points. But Turek, maybe a bit of a rider to watch here. You know, it's always good to see an actual professional coming through into this virtual world. And Duffy, 3rd place from Relentless, with Lindsay in 4th. So, it could be a little bit of a break here, because they have got 6 seconds back on Watanabe from ZWC and Stinger, and another rider there from Japan, from World Elite Zwifters, Yama, and Power, one of our great riders from the scratch race around Richmond. They're now 4 or 5 seconds back, so this has blown it up. This group, if they stay together, not this group, this is the Chasers, the lead group, they may stay away, because they've got some heavy hitters.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Duffy Jr. I know that he's got a really good turn of speed at the end, but he's been climbing really well. We did chat about the fact that these steep inclines sometimes do favour the power riders a little bit more than the straight climbers, but, you know, it really depends actually how the climb is ridden, and it looks like Duffy Jr. is playing a very, very smart game. When you see the power tuck, we know that they're not pedalling. You don't generally do that on a trainer unless you're a little bit fatigued. The reason I'm going to say that, Anna, is because you run the risk of your legs dying a little bit. You know, I, for one, was not a rider who ever really freewheeled too much, because I'd lose a little bit of juju in my legs. And so I think whenever I see that, I think, oh, are they a little bit desperate for a bit of a break? Is that what they're doing in this power tuck? So it's happening a lot in that
this
front group.
This is interesting, yeah.
Second chasing group.
Yeah, but that there was a comment that just came up there from Power, who I did say was a very good rider from our last scratch race. He's just saying, come on guys, let's work, and then pushed his power up to around 7 watts a kg. So this chase group is highly motivated, and they're only 4 seconds back now. But Turek, our in real life professional for Israel Cycling Academy, moving to the front here into that super tuck, but it's very hard to stay with that tuck. They're just going down to the flat area now, where they'll hit the rolling hills, but also I believe straight into almost the second sprint stage for those very valuable points. So we've got 2 very motivated groups. This group wants to stay away and get maximum points over the sprint, but this chase group here, they're desperately trying to get in, and they're just about hitting the sprint. This one kind of goes down a bit and then up, so it is a little bit of an uphill sprint, just a tiny bit. And you can see here you've got Turek leading them out, and a big open up here from IKD from ZWC with the Aero helmet. That's going to give him an advantage, and he is pulling away 11 watts a kg. He will have that. Looks like Duffy in second, and Lindsay, more points for him in third.
Yeah, it's interesting because overall, Anna, I'd say that the points have been fairly evenly distributed. There hasn't been one rider like we saw in the women taking all of them. We can also see that second group with Watanabe rejoining the group here. Looks like he's going straight past. That's such a classic move. I gotta say, the catch the bunch, ride straight past and hurt some legs. So good on him. That shows quite a lot of personality. So gold star effort there. But this changes the dynamic of the group, because all of a sudden we've got over 10 riders. That's not just that 5 anymore, and we're pretty likely that they'll all come to the finish together. There's about 5 kilometres or just under left to ride, and we might get some isolated attacks. Again, Anna, I can't say strongly enough, I don't want to see anybody riding to the front and just upping the tempo. At this point, that's not going to do anything except take a lot of cream off the topping for them. What I want to see is somebody get out of their seat, massive acceleration, and see if they can get away. If that's not going to happen, I think that it's all about timing, because in the women's A and the women's C, we saw that the riders who were going a bit early, they were actually being caught out doing that. I mean, is that something that when you've ridden around this course so many times on your own, is that something that you imagine just from riding around here, Anna, or has that caught you by surprise a little bit?
Yeah, it is a hard finish. Not hard on the legs so much because it is a bit downhill, but it's really hard to time it right. And I'm just looking at the power stats here, and if these guys have done their homework, then they're going to know that the K power rider, he's got a over 1,000 watt sprint, 15-second sprint on him, as does Scott Cantanazaro from Relentless, and also Zaki Yama from World Elite Zwifters. So they should know that those are the 3 danger players. As we see power here, going off the front of it, which I would suggest probably not to. If you've got those kind of watts in a 15-second sprint, you should just really be holding on, sitting in the pack, saving energy, and really unleashing. But with 4 kilometers to go, they're going to start looking around, and they're going to know those high watt riders. You don't want them there at the finish. So if you're a lower watt rider with that 15 second, maybe a Duffy from Relentless, push ahead. Maybe you try and have the breakaway, have people chase you, and then set up one of your teammates to take the sprint at the end.
Well, and if we look on the rider screen, that's where we can see the order that the riders are in, and it does change frequently in this bunch. But we'll notice that they're starting to bunch together in teams. The dPAC riders, the ZWC, the Relentless, they are starting to get organised as they come into this final run. I think that Relentless are in the box seat because Duffy Jr. is clearly on very good form, as is Grasicki, who's had some massive attacks with big power that has done quite a lot of damage. And they've also got Cantanazaro there, who week on week is super reliable. That is a really strong team. That being said, dPAC each week have been getting better, and I think we've also seen Sam Lindsay have some really good shining form today. Not necessarily the rider that we would pick in a bunch kick, Hannah, but this isn't a normal bunch kick. It's been a pretty hard 31k so far of racing, 40 odd minutes. They're going quick. He's had some pretty stinging attacks. He might be one to watch in this finish as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Relentless, they want to get as many riders in that, points, the higher point standings as they can. But I think if I was them, setting up Scott Cantanazaro, who's got that wattage for 15 seconds of 1,037. That's insane. That's one of the fastest we see out here. But I'm just seeing also Mon Rich from ZWC, also a very high raw output of over 1,100 watts. So that's another danger person to watch here. This is going to be one high-powered sprint at the end as they're rolling around here at 55k an hour. Oh, this is I don't even know who to put my money on. It's just going to be every man for himself, I think, at the end, and who can ever time it right and who's got the best power up.
Yeah, they certainly do need to time it right, because I think timing is everything coming into this finish. They're moving quickly, they're over 50k an hour, but their heart rates aren't particularly high. If we're looking at Turek here, the IRL professional, and his heart rate 127. He could probably afford to text at this point and write a few heartfelt messages to the rest of the bunch if he wanted to. I'd love to see. Okay, so over to Stinger now. His heart rate is more where we'd expect it to be. And Rich, he's still pretty low, under around the 140 mark. So there's actually quite a lot of different stories going on in this bunch, Anna. They're not all at the
Yeah.
limit by any means, but when it comes down to a fast, slightly downhill sprint, just because you have a low heart rate doesn't mean you'll be able to pump out those watts at the end.
Yeah, I have not seen a heart rate that low at this stage of a race, and a race of attrition. Down at the 127s, that's basically a zone 2 warm-up. So that's going to be, I think that was Church, right? So you got to say you've got to put the money on him to have the best legs at the finish. He just seems like he's out for a Sunday coffee ride. But we do see again here a few little digs off the front with Morgan from dPAC putting in a little attack here, around 7 watts a kg. He hasn't really held on to it though, so not sure what the strategy is here. You know, maybe they're coming in and setting up their team for something. They've got a few, like I said, K-Power, amazing power, so he's got a great last name there. Heading into the last sort of 1500 meters of this race, it just kicks up a little bit and mostly flat downhill all the way leading into the finish. Now, will we see another dPAC rider attack over the top? That's what I want to see. Are they doing a bit of a 1-2 punch? No, it's O'Connell again, the chatty rider from our breakaway of 3, just moving ahead there with Watanabe now from ZWC. So there's a lot of movement happening in this pack with 1400 to go. They're not sitting in. There's some definite little digs.
Well, Turek's only a 900 watt sprinter, so he may be fit as a fiddle and certainly still breathing easy at the moment, but I'm not sure that he necessarily has that horsepower if he isn't in a plumb position. So far, he's in a pretty good spot, but Relentless, they're smart. Week after week, they show us just how smart they are, and they've arrived with riders absolutely on form. O'Connell, now, he's a bit of a sneaky, Anna, because we know that he's got good legs, and we've seen that he's a little bit frustrated with how things have gone so far, so he might pull something out of the bag in this finale if he's given the right set of circumstances by following the right wheels. I'll notice that he's stuck like glue to Sam Lindsay at the moment, which isn't a bad one to do, but Morgan, he was also in that breakaway. He's also got pretty good legs, so they're coming right into the finish here, Anna, about to hit over this tiny little rise, and then that false flat into the finish. Power up starting to be dropped, and we've seen some acceleration off the front here now by Grosicki.
This is amazing. This is our man. 12 watts a kg, I think, hitting up around 13 actually with Rich though. I saw him hanging out the back. This is an early attack from these guys, and it looks like Rich going over the top from ZWC and drafting power up, not even an aero. This is a long range attack as we see some little chasers coming in now. Church, our low heart rate rider, our professional rider, he's really pulling in now. That was too early from those riders, too early from Grosicki, but maybe he was setting up Duffy, because off Duffy, I think that was Duffy. I think Duffy came through. I think Grosicki was setting him up. Amazing team playing there. I think we'll see a replay. That was just phenomenal. That was an early attack by Grosicki. I think he was setting up his rider Duffy, because it looks like Duffy took that out, and if he was,